The other 3 kids have either completed college or they're about to. One says she agrees with her father's theory of paying your own way, even though she had to drop out of one college to attend a less expensive one. Now, is Mr. Dugan carrying this too far, do you think? Is it better always for children to pay their own college bills? Does it, as he maintains, increase their self-reliance? Or does it make them nervous wrecks, frustrated, embittered, as I imagine that daughter of his might well be? Did your parents help you through school? Could you have done it without them? Did you? For that matter, when should kids become completely self-sufficient? Does it make sense to hold a time clock on them, and at age 21 or 22 or whatever, that's it, kid, you're on your own, beat it. And out they go to live with 3 or 4 others in a walk-up shack of some sort? For that matter, here's a guy with a 6-figure salary. Okay. He's got 5 kids. He doesn't want to pay their costs going through college because he said it undermines their sense of self-reliance. What he may be forgetting is that the cost of schooling is so high these days that I personally think we run the risk of creating a new debtor class in this country of young people newly graduated from college carrying an appalling debt load for their age. We wonder why it is we can't attract bright young people into teaching, particularly math and science. Well, if you were graduating from college and you owed about $10,000 or $12,000 in student loans, you'd be looking for a job that would pay you the most money, wouldn't you? You wouldn't take a starting job at $13,000 if you could get one for $20,000 or $22,000. And when you consider 2 young people, both college graduates, marrying, together they're starting out their married lives carrying a debt load that would knock your socks off. $25,000. That's before they buy their first stick of furniture, not to mention a house. I think Mr. Dugan is all wet. What do you think? Have you paid your kids' way? Or are you of his school? Let them go on their own. It teaches them self-reliance. 17 till 7 at WWDB. The talk station of the Delaware Valley, where, by the way, you heard first, that the Eagles remain in Philadelphia, right here, 96.5.
My name is Catherine Krasovskaya. I am from Russia. Счастливого Рождества и счастливого Нового года, which in English means Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Paula DeBaradinas from the WWDB News Department, wishing everyone a happy holiday season.
We're going to start taking withholding tax out of that Catherine.
She gets it around, huh?
She's everywhere. It's, what's that old joke about bringing her into emergency surgery to cut the mic out of her hand or something? Yeah. It is 6:45 on WWDB.
And the Unicorn Questers are at it again. That's a group of grammar activists who ride herd on the language in an attempt to rid it of misused and useless words.
Yeah, they had to set up shop here, boy.
I know. New Year's
busy
Eve,
for a year.
They'll select their 10th annual list. They're calling it this year one of the most repugnant collections of words ever assembled. And on the hit list will be, this year, Bottom Line.
Yes.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. They got a nomination from a professor at Kyoto University in Japan. He wants to get rid of It's a Biggie.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Hand, state editor of the Lansing State Journal, wrote down one that he found in the Wall Street Journal. It's a significant write-down. He figured out after studying it that it meant a big loss. Can you believe that?
That's right.
I guess you could think of a few yourself. I can't stand, I submit to you. That phrase just drives me up a wall, and among a zillion others.
And the insidious part of it is that they slide into one's discourse.
You start using them.
Oh, sure.
And you hate them.
And after a while, you don't even know you're doing it. And then somebody calls you on it, and it's so embarrassing to find out that you've been sounding like an idiot all these years. But then, on the other hand, if you become all that eternally vigilant, it's like standing on your tiptoes for 10 hours a day or something. There's a strain sets in.
Yeah.
After a while, you can't talk coherently because you're so self-conscious. Like I say.
Yes. I submit to you.
Yes. It's 10 minutes. I submit to you that it's 10 minutes till 7, and that
It's a biggie.
the biggie is right here with Walt McDonald. There's the bottom line again.
God, can you believe it?
8:30 till 7 o'clock here at 96.5. Listen, I submit that many times the people who plunk down big money for an expensive imported automobile, known by shorthand as an exotic car, the kind you don't see all that often, and they buy them because, well, they're sexy looking or they're very high, very fast performing cars, high speed, fast pickup, that sort of thing. There's only one problem with a lot of these cars. They work very well in their own countries, but when you get them over here, there's something in the air they don't like. I don't know. They don't feel at home, and as a result, they get very, very testy, finicky. While the owner expects he's going to be cruising at 120 miles an hour down some highway, instead the car is in the garage because it won't start. And there the owner is sobbing inconsolably, kicking it, wondering what to do. Where can he find a mechanic to fix it and keep it fixed? Well, there is a place. Just happen to know of one. It's up in northeast Philadelphia, right over the border at Welsh Road and Huntington Pike, and it's called B&B Sport and Foreign Car Repairs. 6 till 7 on WWDB. Dominick, Quinn, Joe, good morning.
Morning. I'd like to make a comment about the father wishing to make
Yeah.
as far as
What do you think of that? Is he on the right track? Or is he just justifying a selfish, tight-fisted way of life?
Well, the thing I wanted to say is that if they weren't divorced and then the parents were still living together and they refused to pay, they would have no recourse. They couldn't go to the courts.
Well, I don't, that's not the issue. The issue is we're not talking about the legality of it. That's for the courts to decide, and apparently they have. It's the attitude, the frame of mind of the father. I myself cannot possibly conceive of doing that. If they had children of college age, naturally you pay what you can. They go out and work. Ours worked. They worked very hard indeed, and they helped defray their tuition to a great degree. But nevertheless, to throw them out on their own and say sink or swim, that to me is heartless.
I mean, when do you draw the line? If he decides to get a doctoral degree, do you pay till he's 35?
If you can, sure. I would. Darn right. I mean, look, he's your son or your daughter. They didn't ask to be born.
I mean,
and besides this, we're assuming now that there's a valid basis for this. I've met some people over the years who go to school the way an animal goes in under the porch. It's a little nest they've made for themselves. They shelters them from the outside world. They go from one degree to the other because they just don't feel like working. But if I had a kid who had a valid reason to work for a Ph.D., darn right I'd help him every bit I could.
Okay.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'm going through it now. I'm paying support to a child that's in college.
Well,
he goes 8 months a year, and I still pay support all through the summer when he works full time.
Well, what is he, an undergraduate?
Yeah. He takes the minimum of courses to be considered a full-time student.
Well, is he just fooling around, or is he working for some purpose?
I have children from my present marriage that I'd like to put money away for them to go to college also.
Yeah, well, you know the way college costs are going up. I read something the other day that by the turn of the century, 4 years at a private college will cost something like $139,000.
I could believe it.
How can you put aside money for that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Even for a school like Temple or Penn State, it's supposed to be $35,000 or $40,000.
Yeah. And going up every year.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the call. It's 3:30 till 7 at WWDB.
It's 7:06 on this Monday morning, December 17, 1984, 46 degrees, and just 1 week to Christmas Eve, Dominic. Tonight, big show on the tube. The new version
George C. Scott's
of the Christmas Carol. They say, USA's critic, Jack Curry, says Scrooge comes across as a creep because he has the means to enjoy life and yet refuses to use them. And by hoarding his money, he screws up any possibility for trickle-down economics to help I love
96.5 WWDB. We hear you.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Here we've got this story about a man named George Dugan who makes a six-figure salary. And he refuses to pay for his kids' college expenses. His former wife says that he should. She took him to court finally, and the New York State Supreme Court agreed with her that he must pay up. He says, well, he could do it, but he doesn't do it on principle because it would damage his kids' self-reliance. Well, is that not a Scrooge-like outlook? And should not a father in any case operate on the principle of trickle-down economics? Scrooge didn't. Look what it got him. Now, I wonder if there's a Tiny Tim in George Dugan's life. We'll have to wait and find out. But as a practical matter, what do you think, Al? I mean, isn't it a father's or a breadwinner's obligation to the extent that he can, to pay for his kids' education?
I think, Dominic, if I had the money, if I was even way over six figures, I think the best thing in life that I could do would be to help all those in my family or even friends to obtain as much in the way of education that they possibly could. If I was a millionaire, I think my top priority, after being self-sufficient myself, would be to help every one of my family, certainly any children that I would have, and then it would be nieces and nephews to reach their fullest potential. I think it's a delightful way to spend your money after everything is secure in one's family.
Well, let me argue the opposite point now. Supposing the kids and know among them that, yeah, the old man thinks the way you do, as you've outlined it. Therefore, let's say they consider you a soft touch. And is there not a possibility of their abusing your generosity? What kind of safeguards would you build in?
Well, it would be a way of monitoring one's education. I wouldn't just give the money away lavishly, but I would have some kind of reason to give to support the children in whatever way I could. For example, if they were going to go to a college, I would be sure that their marks would be in line. I wouldn't have a CD student attempt to go to college and be struggling all the way through, or go to a college just because he had the money, but he would give me a good reason, and I think I could monitor their educational lives somewhat if I was going to be that donor.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have it on those recommendations and have it disciplined in that way so that I wouldn't completely be just taken by what they would want to do because they knew the money was there.
I met a man last evening, younger fellow, at a party who was born and raised in Texas. And he attended I think he said Texas Tech, but I'm not certain. In any case, one of his classmates was a scion of the Kleberg family, the owners of the King Ranch. You're familiar with that?
Yes.
A huge, an enormous agricultural operation, not only in this country, but also in Australia, among other places. Well, this boy was sent to college. He came with 4 cars, a pickup truck, and he had a couple of other things, and he had himself quite a party, I guess, for the better part of 1 year, and his grades were all D's. Well, one day at the door, according to this story, there appeared the foreman of his father's ranch with about 4 of his helpers. They immediately got the keys to his car. He got dressed. They took him in a car right out the door to a waiting plane owned by the King Ranch. He was flown then to the nearest big city. They got him on another jet, and he went to San Francisco. There was a commercial flight waiting, got right on the plane, flew to Australia. There was another King jet waiting, flew him to the King Ranch in the outback in the center part of Australia, one of the most desolate places in the world. There he was, and there he was to remain for 6 months, riding fence, as the assignment goes. And this friend of mine told me that's he did it himself to pay his way through school. He says one of the loneliest jobs in the world. And there he was all by himself, and once a day, a helicopter would come over and drop him food and whatever else he needed. And that was it. And he was there for 6 months before his father relented, took him back to school, whereupon, until graduation, he got straight A's.
Said something.
He saw the light and was rendered benevolent. They play rough there, don't they?
My God, don't they? I have a friend, Dominick, and she went to Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 4 years ago. She's out now. And her parents refused to pay. They weren't... They didn't have riches, but the college was affordable. She was the last of the children and the only child that went to college.
Yeah.
So she went, and she had a really struggling time. She had to pay her way. Sometimes she had 2 jobs just to get herself through. And she was a brilliant student, but her marks didn't indicate that because there was so much pressure on her just to survive. When you talked about walking up the creaky old steps and living with 4 girls, it was all that there.
Yeah.
But she had to just survive, and so all her marks faltered as a result of that. I thought she would have been a straight-A student had not she...
Well, that's the trouble, see. In building character, you're also acting as a drag on the kid's intellectual development. Thank you, Al. 12 past 7 on WWDB. Sports Update coming up. 15 past 7 o'clock. That's the News and Sports Update with Frank X. Feller right here at WWDB. Dominick Quinn is my name. We have 47 degrees on a grungy morning. It doesn't look all that great, but CompuWeather says keep the faith, because later on it burns off and we should have a reasonably sunny day. Certainly it'll be abnormally warm with a high close to 60. If you have to have a figure, let's try 58. The record is 60 degrees. Tomorrow, we get up to 64 at the least, and if we do, that will tie the record set back in 1937. So we have 2 warm days before colder air moves in, they think, sometime on Wednesday. 19.5 past 7 o'clock and 47 degrees on a foggy morning here on the 17th of December, 1984. Joseph, good morning.
Hey, Doc.
How was your weekend?
Oh, charming, simply charming. Marvelous time.
Well, listen, I would imagine that you were just heaving tears of relief at the news that the Eagles are going to remain and your friend Leonard Toews will be rendered whole once again.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. If I ever hear the name Eagles once again, it'll be entirely too much. I can't handle it anymore. I'm sick of it, and I care if they blow the damn place up. I'm 100% against giving any money to private enterprise. The hell with it. And this leads...
Well, you know what, Joe? There was a remark made yesterday. I listened in the car by George Will on the ABC show with Dave. What's his name? You know, this is the one that's on Sunday from 11 to 12. David Brinkley, and he made the point in arguing with Sam Donaldson that there is no more socialized industry in our modern economy than professional football. And I think he makes a very good point. That's something that I hadn't thought of. But he says the raw material, the players, all come, for the most part, from publicly supported schools. The stadia are all built not by the owners, but for them by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And they get a tremendous number of breaks.
Yeah. Well, you know, Doc, you know what I would like to talk of this? I hate any frill, anything they get. You know this fellow, the old Scrooge there, that once said the kids at school?
Yeah.
He has a very sound basis, because what's given is very rarely appreciated. The value of money is certainly not shown by our younger group of people, by the sporty clothes they wear, which they look like they fell out of the back of a garbage wagon, but they cost one hell of a lot of money. It's depicted in their everyday life. Now, I can understand it. I had the same problem. I told my children at a very early age if they were too damn dumb to win a scholarship and too lazy to work, then they'd never go to college. Now, I'll tell you this. The onus of all this goes back to the educational institutions where these ridiculous prices are let for children to go. And they're children. They're in their very formative stages. They're not men and women in this country at this age. Maybe they are in the woods of Pakistan, but they sure as hell aren't adults in this country, and they'll just, in many cases, they'll abuse all this largesse that you throw at them to get a kid what turns out to be damn near a worthless education. I believe in the theory that you go get a job and train in the job that you take. most of these kids up there all end up as not art students, so what the hell do they call it?
Liberal arts.
Yeah, liberal arts, right. They flunk out of all their courses, and they end up with a university with 25,000 kids on campus all taking liberal arts, and they know as much about Shakespeare as I know about the inside of a grandfather's clock. Now, you know, this guy, he's a cheapie, no doubt. But I would like to take the kid or the kids that worked their way through school, and in 20 years from now, examine them and see who did the most. And what the hell's the court have to do in telling you how to spend your money? Damn it all, everything I do, the courts are into. They're into football, they're into every damn thing in the world. They're into how I make my living, who I dare talk to, who I can't talk to.
I got news for you, Joe. They're coming down with it. I meant to tell you this. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court is coming down with an opinion tomorrow mandating that coils have to be cleaned and inspected once a month.
I'm going to wrap these coils around your neck. But right, that's just the gist of my statement.
Okay.
Okay?
Listen, get yourself ready for tomorrow because you're going to get a visitation, as I told you, from the United States Coast Guard.
I can handle the Coast Guard. They're all decent people. They're straight up, and I know how they're going to go. But the rest of this crowd, I don't know.
Well,
Go get them.
Okay, buddy, take care. 23 and a half past 7 o'clock.
Got to get him an Eagles jacket for Christmas.
A red Eagles hat. That would be funny, wouldn't it? I mean, red. What am I saying? The green, the knitted cap.
Yeah, right.
If I could get one and bring it up tomorrow, because we're going up there for lunch. And
tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
You can pick up one today.
Where do you get them?
I'll get one.
Can you get
I'll
one?
get one.
Okay, great. Then I get a picture of him wearing that behind the bar. Wouldn't that be funny? Of course, he'll throw us all out in our ears. Listen, are you looking for that special gift for the holidays, but you can't find it? You know, you've got just a week, right? Next week is Christmas Eve. Christmas a week from tomorrow. So if you haven't yet found the gift you're looking for, let me tell you about a place you should make a beeline for right away. It is, I'd say, one of the most unusual and brilliant gift stores I've ever seen. Taslim's Limited Edition. That's the name of the store. And you'll find gifts there that range from $2 to $2,350. Now, when people talk about Taslim's, they're talking about names such as Patty Bannister portraits of beautiful girls, Edna Hebel prints, Hummel figurines, Dolton and monogram dinnerware, crystal lamps and stemware, musical dolls and teddy bears, and over 150 different collectible plates. But what you really have to see is the Mallard Drake Duck. That's a porcelain sculpture by W.D. Gaither. Limited to 200 pieces, it is the ultimate porcelain achievement. So coming up to Taslim's, check out the 30% discount on selected gift items. Now, Taslim's is located in the Jefferson Ward Plaza on Street Road in Bensalem. It's just 5 minutes off I-95. To get directions specifically from where you are, call Taslim's at 245-1661. 245-1661. Tasleems, Taslim's. Now, just arrived at Taslim's, by the way, the newest Bumpkin Bunch original soft cloth dolls. They're very expensive, they're delightful looking, and from now till Christmas, you'll find 60% off Dolton dinnerware. Taslim's. 26 past 7 o'clock. Cloudy, foggy. It's a grungy morning so far. Later on today, variably cloudy. Some sun by this afternoon with a high near 58. The southerly flow could maybe help us tie the record, which is 60 degrees for this date. Then tonight, cloudy again, patchy fog, low near 40. Tomorrow, we really get into the soup. It'll be up to 64 degrees. First time that's happened since 1937. Colder air moving in, CompuWeather says, by the middle of the week. But right now, here, 47 degrees, humidity's up 87%. And in the forthcoming news...
Attorneys for New Jersey will file briefs in the U.S. Supreme Court today on the Kinsley landfill situation. Philadelphia is seeking a stay of a lower court order barring the city from hauling trash to the Deptford dump. In Chicago, Ronnie Himmel is a dentist. He has on his office window this sign: 12 lords of flossing, 11 ladies brushing, 10 dentists drilling, 9 hygienists cleaning, 8 molars missing, 7 silver fillings, 6 teeth a shining, 5 golden crowns, 4 calling bills, 3 French dentures, 2 yearly checkups, and a partridge in a pair of teeth.
That's cute. We are fast approaching the next update of the news. Paul Perello has the latest. Following that, the next report from the Go Patrol. Then an update of the sports, and we're off and running an open forum right here at 96.5. I'd like to talk with you if you are graduating from college this year, because you may have seen that survey. You ought to be in pretty good shape this year. Your starting salary will be higher, they say, averaging more than $20,000 if you have a bachelor's degree. What are you going to do with all your money? Or do you have other information? Let's talk. News right now.
WWDB, Philadelphia. The talk station.
All right, Frank X. Feller's sports update. It's 22 minutes before 8 o'clock on a morning that, well, we've seen better-looking Monday mornings. But this one, if you hate cold weather, is beautiful. Good morning, Bear.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Listen, if and I'm not being facetious, but if the court can maintain the maintenance or mandate that the maintenance of a child for higher education could be done because the child doesn't have the money and they deem it as a justifiable need, wouldn't the other side of the coin being that those parents in, let's say, 40 years could ask should expect or should ask the court that the children should take care of them?
That's a very Chinese idea.
Well, you know, historically, this country used to have a long tradition of families taking care of each other before the state stepped in.
So, in other words, to see if I understand, you're saying that if the courts mandate that a parent must pay for the education of his child, so also, in all fairness, a child should be mandated by some future court to care for his doddering parent.
Right, or possibly part of the agreement. After all, if you got $10,000 a year for 4 years of college, that's $40,000. And if inflation would cause the money to the repayment of that to expand, in 40 or 50 years, that 40 grand would be worth maybe 180, 200 grand.
Well,
it certainly would be a nice retirement and take a burden off Social Security.
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice, except for one thing. Your plan, if widely adopted, would be like a monumental ash bucket under the keel of the economy. It would be a drag because the kids could never put anything aside for themselves. They'd be supporting their parents.
Well, I can't help but believe that somebody that has to go to court to get that kind of education would be a drag anyway.
Well, I'll tell you, to me, the kernel of the problem is not the issue we're talking about here, but the fact that the court accepted such a case to begin with. To me, the courts have no business doing that. That's none of their damn business. I bet they... just as Irv Homer starts to get frothy over the matter of income tax, in my case, if there's one thing that sends me off the reservation, it's the idea of the judiciary horning in on every conceivable aspect of American life. I can't think of one area where a court won't intrude.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If there is anything that's like a classical 19th century trust that, Teddy Roosevelt went around busting up, it's certainly the grip that the American Bar Association and the American Medical Association to some degree has on the whole economy, because they can interfere and intervene wherever they would so like to and can inflict all sorts of things
I think you give them too much credit. I mean, don't lump the ABA with the judiciary. I'm talking about the feds or a state Supreme Court. They have a full run of our entire society. That never used to be the way.
All the judges are lawyers.
Yeah, that's another problem. Thank you, Bear. It's coming up on 18 and a half till 9 here at 96.5 WWDB. Outside our doors, some old-fashioned weather. Well, the last time we had anything like it was back in 1928. That's why. It's warm. Right now, 48 degrees. We'll get at least another 10 degrees on the thermometer. So whether you're in Vincenttown or Flowertown, you ought to be talking 58, 59, something like that. We're flirting with the record of 60 degrees. Tomorrow, we'll probably do more than flirt. We will match or exceed 64. That's tomorrow. Now, the change is coming, and I'll let Andy Gregorio fill us in on that and how much of a change he thinks it's likely to be. I'll be talking with him in a couple of minutes. But right now, as we approach 8:45, that's time we go sideways once again for another update on the traffic. A busy morning around the Delaware Valley, and Walt McDonald at the WWDB traffic headquarters. It's 12:30 till 9 on WWDB. Well, now, while we will need our Palm Beach suits and short-sleeve shirts today, Andy, will we need some suntan oil?
Yeah, you just might. How much sunshine we get, that's still a little bit up in the air if you pardon the pun, but we will see sun today, a mix of clouds and sun by this afternoon. Unseasonably mild, a high of 58. The record today, 1928, 60 degrees. We do have a shot of at least getting near it, maybe even tying it. Tonight, variable clouds, patchy fog again, lows by morning, down into the low 40s, around 40 degrees we'll call it. And then tomorrow, fog, clouds, burn off, partly sunny, very warm. Again, record or near record warmth possible. It looks like 64 is not out of the question tomorrow, and tomorrow's high, 64, 1937. And then some sense of normalcy returns to our weather on Wednesday. Partly cloudy skies, chance for showers, and cooler. Wednesday's highs in the 50s, but again, that cooler is still above normal.
Still above normal. When do you think we might get another taste of winter? You know?
I have a very strong feeling it will probably be during the weekend. There are changes taking place in the atmosphere, and some really cold air should start to shove eastwards, probably by Saturday or Sunday.
Thank you, Andy. Andy Gregorio of CompuWeather, exclusively here at 96.5 WWDB, the talk station where listeners heard first from WWDB News that the Eagles were staying in Philadelphia. Dominick Quinn. Good morning, Bob. Oh, Bob. Bobby, are you there? Where'd he go? He fell in is what he did. That's too bad. I was hanging on his every word because, we'll never know. Well, be that as it may, it's all right for you, Bob. That's all I got to say. Listen, coming up today, not today, but Wednesday. Ray Murray of Channel 3's Evening Magazine. He'll be the special guest at Irv Homer's show day after tomorrow to draw the winner of the Fantasy Gift Contest. So you tune in and find out who won that fabulous trip to Maui, Hawaii, who is going to take wing on American Airlines, something special in the air, have themselves a marvelous week vacation in Maui. And don't forget tonight's Sports Talk at 6. Denny Harrison, Greg Brown, and Kenny Clark of the Eagles defense line join Phil and John Bunning at Franchine's in Cherry Hill. So don't miss the WWDB Sports Talk Christmas Party with Franchine's fabulous free buffet and a host of sports celebrities starting at 5:30 tonight here on WWDB.
I wonder if they'll throw Dennis out of the of Franchine's. They threw him out of the ballgame yesterday, you know.
Did they? Why?
Yeah. A little scuffle there, and then I don't think he should have been thrown out because the referee had his hands on him, and he just pushed the referee away. I don't blame him. The referee has no more right to touch him than he does to touch the referee.
Well, that figures.
And they ejected him. Marion was really not at the referee. He was annoyed at Dennis because I don't think he really saw what was happening out there.
Huh.
But he caused, a 15-yard penalty and the whole schlemiel. I mean, It was not a good time to have it happen.
Well, that's too bad. Well, he'll probably be very eloquent on the matter this evening.
Yeah, sure.
Don't miss it. That'll be right here at 96.5 WWDB, the talk station of the Delaware Valley.
Dr. Jim Corey has been brought to you by Total Health Equipment Company, Loman's Plaza, Route 38 and 70, Pennsauken, New Jersey.
Splendid work, Francis.
Oh, indeed. We shall do it again tomorrow, Dominic.
God willing, yes. May we share your morning tomorrow? We would love to. In the meantime, enjoy the day. Stay cool if you can. Help somebody along the way. Stand by for the news. Then Susan Bray coming up.
WWDB, Philadelphia. The talk station.